Hello and welcome to another edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Dakbo Aruajoy. On our radar today, it's day 2 of Ayuba Waba-led NLC nationwide strike. But how successful is the industrial action across the country? And civilian JTF rescues one of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls. A Journalist Hangout starts now. It's day 2 of a failed nationwide industrial action called by a faction of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Like yesterday, workers in most states of the Federation ignored the strike. Confronted by nationwide shame, Labour is forcing its unwilling members to comply. They drove to key government secretariats in hope of persuading the members to comply. Sadly, it was still a failure. It is obvious that the organized labor in Nigeria is completely disorganized. Despite the seeming failure, the federal government is keen to contribute negotiation with the group, while also warning that failure to shelve the strike might force it to enforce necessary labor laws.
The people you are talking about who are going about in the streets and performing functions that portends them that like they are going on strike. The labor laws of the land make provision for that. If you go to section 40, it says if you embark on a strike that is illegal, if you don't give 15 days notice and you proceed on that strike, especially if you're a member of essential service group, you'll be liable to a fine of 100,000 or 6 months in jail. There are laws. There are laws. That's what the Attorney General is saying. There are labor laws.
Is there still honor in this strike? That I will leave to my guest today, but let's get a feel of what happened today in Nigeria.
We are reiterating our firm position and commitment to the effect that until and when policies are made to actually address the yearning and aspiration of the people, particularly the issues of social justice, it will not actually go well for all of us.
This is Obafemi Awolowo Way, very close to the popular and ever-busy Ikeja underbridge. It's a beehive of activities here on a daily basis, and today is no exception because people here, Lagosians, are going about their daily activities, oblivious of the fact that there is still an industrial action in place.
From banks to schools to motor parks and on the streets of Abeokuta, residents of Abeokuta, Ogun State capital, defy the stay-at-home order of the Nigerian Labour Congress. No form of protest or hindrance whatsoever from the union leaders in the state.
In Kano, the strike witnessed no compliance of residents. Banks, schools, hospitals, as well as public and private offices were all open. As you can see behind me, commercial activities as well as vehicular movements are going on remarkably in the Grand Pyramid city of Kano on the second day of the NLC's nationwide strike.
Day 2 of the strike in Ekiti State. Yesterday, this place was very busy. Workers and their labor leaders here to sensitize the people that they are not budging on the new price hike. But today, everything is quiet in the sense that there are no labor leaders and their followers here on the street demonstrating. But the banks are still closed. Apart from that, life has returned to normal in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital.
In as much as we have a faction of the NLC at the national level, there are also 2 factions of labor here in Rivers State as well. On day 1 of the strike, it was characterized by zero tolerance here in the state, in Rivers State. Of course, workers in the private sector were, of course, at their duty posts. The civil servants were at their duty posts. The judiciary staff were at their duty posts as well. Banks were open to customers. Schools were open to pupils and so on. Many had expected that day 2 of this strike would, experience some improvement on, in terms of compliance level. But unfortunately, this is the complex of the Rivers State Secretariat, and just like yesterday, work has resumed as normal.
So welcome back. My guest and colleagues today, Adekunle Yusuf, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Charles Ideho, thank you also for hanging out with us. Babajide Kolade Otitoju, nice having you also around.
Good evening, viewers.
Okay, let me go to you, Adekunle. What do you think today, yesterday, how far has the strike been? Do you think it has been successful or otherwise?
Yesterday, I moved around in Lagos State to observe what was going on. Today, I've done the same thing. But I'm going to talk based on my experience. It's a totally failed, exercise.
And not enterprise.
I decided to choose my words. It's failed. Let me give you an example. I passed through Mushin around Ojuoyo Market. You see a sea of heads, people doing their businesses. And you see some people, they're about 60, let's say 50, between 50 and 60, wearing NLC jacket. They form queues, marching and singing on the road. And nobody seemed to look at their side. Some of them were sharing leaflets by the roadside. They passed through, if you know that axis, it's a very, very busy axis, Mushin. Then I went to the Federal Medical Center, just as they did yesterday. Activities are going on at the FMC. That's in Oyinbo.
Okay.
But at a point, NLC people came, a faction of them rather, came to that hospital and they started, picketing the junior workers. The doctors are working. So as I'm talking to you, before I left the place, 1 hour, 30 minutes ago, the kitchen was closed because those who cook, because they serve, meals in that hospital. Those who cook in that place, they've closed. Then all of that junior workers, people, payment and all those things. But the hospital is still working.
So, but there's a partial compliance there.
That can be.
The junior workers are not allowed.
Before I left the place today, some people have delivered. Some has, you see, women.
But they will not have something to eat after delivery.
Yes, they didn't have something to eat, but people can improvise. There are many public hospitals that don't do meals.
Okay.
You understand? I'm coming from there and I visited the ward.
Okay.
So things, you will never know until you ask questions that something like that is happening.
Okay.
So if you look around Lagos and you are going to pronounce on what has happened, I'm going to say it's a failed exercise.
What do you think, Charles?
How do you measure failure, especially in respect to Labour calling out the citizenry to protest? It is the level of compliance. It's very, very low. Apart from some states that have decided to be partisan with Labour, a state like Osun, a state like Ekiti, and a few. I understand that Abia and Anambra also joined today. I think Adamawa yesterday, exactly. Yeah. So totally, I think if you want to put this one side by side with the Labour we've always known in the past, right from the days of Pascal Bafiao, the very fierce
Adam
Soshomole. And then you can't even imagine that that's the same Labour that will call people to action, nobody looking their way. It's a failure. But I think there are factors responsible, which some of us know, especially the factionalization of that body didn't help Labour at all. Especially during the election they had sometime last year or something. That's exactly where you have two factions emerging in Labour. And since then, I began to have my fear that we're in trouble. Why did I say we're in trouble? When you look at it globally, Labour is supposed to be a body that's supposed to fight for the rights and privileges of people. When you have political parties, maybe two-party system or three-party or multi-party, you have to have a virile opposition for you to be able to stand against the government, to say government no. But that Labour has been doing that over the years. But now that for the very first time, Labour is calling out people and nobody is responding, I fear for this country.
You think so?
Yes.
Jide, what do you think?
About what?
Generally about about the protest. Generally, do you think it's failed or not?
Well, generally now, it has failed. It's there for everyone to see. But in some states, it's been a success. Government offices shut, even hospitals in Adamawa State were shut yesterday. The doctors were working, but the nurses were told to go home. So the doctors refused to admit new patients. So in a way, in that corner of Nigeria, the strike worked. The strike also worked in Plateau State. Government offices were shut. I noticed that in some states where workers are being owed salaries, the people, maybe based on anger, responded well to the strike. Then Ekiti State, up to today, banks are not open. You know, people, yesterday, they shut down the radio station, shut down the TV station. So it is not a complete failure for the NLC. You know, the NLC, because I know that that is the mainstream faction. Ajaero lost the election. If they do the election a million times, it will keep losing. Because the majority of the people were on the side of Ayuba. Even the current governor of Edo State, Waba was his candidate.
Ajaero is still a force to reckon with today.
Well, that is what you think. Force to reckon with, because he has support of just a fraction of labor. The reason why this whole crisis, we have this whole crisis, is because the TUC pulled out at the last minute. Let me tell you, TUC has 23 affiliate unions. If the TUC had spoken with one voice with NLC, the level of failure would not be what we are seeing now. It is that last minute pull out by TUC that was really the master stroke that destroyed the effort to build a strong coalition in form of this strike. So it is not really Ajaero, because I've analyzed it here. If you look at the groups with Ajaero, they usually don't even go on strike. Electricity workers don't go on strike. They are with him. Yes. Pengasam does not go on strike. They will issue the worst threats in the world, but in the end, government will talk to them, and Pengasam will not go on strike. Because these are the people who ensure that the exportation of Nigeria's oil happens. So if they turn it off, it takes, on the average, close to a month before the thing is rebooted. Can Nigeria afford to not sell crude oil for a whole month? So Pengasam doesn't ever go on strike.
So you are saying even
though they were on his side, they wouldn't have been involved in the strike in any case. We've had strikes in this country. Pengasam would not join. You know. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the groups under the NLC, we have Waba comes from health workers. We have health workers with him. We have ASU with him. We have Sano with him. You know, we have NUT with him. So the bulk of the workforce in Nigeria are actually with him. But the TUC, a crucial union under the NLC, pulled out at the last minute, and it was the TUC that first served the notice of strike. If you remember that story that Sharon Jackson did. And TUC was the first to serve a notice of strike. But TUC pulled out at the last minute. That was what destroyed any real plan by the NLC to stage a successful nationwide strike. Because it also sent a message to people that, if these people are not united, how do we then work with them?
Wonderful.
But that sends a very big message in terms of the ability of this current, the current leadership of.
There are issues.
Yes, because there are issues. If you cannot unite around a worthy cause, if you cannot get people, to speak with one voice, why go it alone?
No, they are not going
this time around. He's
not going it alone. It still has a lot of
but the very powerful ones.
I know.
Finish.
No, that's not the same as going
in a
it alone.
situation whereby you ordered the Nigerians should go on strike, and businesses go on, as if nothing is happening. You walk on the streets, marching. I don't want to say protest, but protesting, and people still don't look at your side. Then who are you fighting for?
Okay, let's talk about this now. Since you've talked about the faction, There are two factions now, the Ajero and the Ayuba Waba faction. Okay, when it comes to negotiation and what they are fighting for, let's try and analyze the two teams now. The Ajero faction is looking at try and regulate or look into the PPP, the Price Regulatory Agency, and also put the palliatives in place, and also think about the increment of the basic, the salaries.
Minimum.
They are all saying that.
They are all saying that.
All saying that. That's what every group that goes
all
before,
of them
they've been talking about minimum wage.
Salary increment.
So
all of them want, it's on the table of everybody.
Yes.
But you see that some of the factions, or let me say groups within NLC, they want deregulation. And when you deregulate, you know what that means. You are talking about price. The price cannot be the same. So what has happened in this situation is deregulation by another method. So when you said you support deregulation, but you don't support price increment, what are you talking about?
It's what you call
contradiction. Maybe I did not finish where I was going to. Okay, why is it that the Ayuba Waba faction is less popular now, or is not reaching,
or seemingly
less popular? Is it because of the demands that the federal government must reduce the price of the petrol?
Not popular with who now? Is it with us or with
why are the people
with the
not
masses
outside?
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, look, you have to put it in context. You know, since December, we have been having crises.
October, really?
Okay, October.
Yes.
You know, on and off, and almost all through that time, we have not really enjoyed, steady fuel supply for 1 full month. And when you move around Nigeria, there are places they sell 300 naira, 2 something, all through the period. If you enter any filling station and buy without, suffering, it means you are not buying at the official price. You know it. If you want to buy the official price, you have to go to the filling station with your mat.
Okay.
So, people who have suffered this kind of long suffering, overnight, you announced a new price. Fine, it's high. But despite the fact that it is on the high side, queues disappeared.
What do you think was responsible for
But
queues
let me say this, if you don't mind.
No, let's address it. What could have been responsible for queues disappearing? It is certainly not product availability.
No,
because it's still the products. It's still the product that NNPC brought, the stock that we are still using. It is the pricing that is chasing people away. It is not, when I hear that, queues disappeared. No. All those places where we used to see very long queues, that is where they are selling at 86.50. Now, somebody who drives a taxi, a commercial taxi, you want him to buy fuel at 300 naira a liter. He will ask himself, how do I make it? How much am I going to tell my passenger to pay? So it is not as if there is product availability. Even as we speak, today there is a story that somebody sent from I think Ekiti, Ondo State, where one of the guys speaking was saying, look, in spite of this 145, we are buying it 170 now. Can you imagine that? That can only happen when the product is not, the country is not awash with the product. So it's not as if now there is availability of product.
But it's better.
Let's not forget.
It's better than before.
The only reason is some people have even parked their cars. Let me tell you, many Nigerians can afford 145. That is a reality.
I know.
If we do not believe that now,
but the same Nigerians, many of the same Nigerians were affording it at 2 something.
No, the ones who did not want to afford it.
Let me say,
the ones who could not afford it will park their cars in the filling station for days.
I agree.
Let's not imagine that because this man, because he's so rich, he can afford it, or because you are a money bag, you can afford it, or because my friend Charles Ideho, goes around with Ghana must go, he can afford it, then everyone can afford it.
And likewise you too. Yes. Likewise a billionaire like you goes around
with bullion van. Let me attend to bullion van.
Okay, the bullion van I go around with that.
There's an argument, the argument that Yusuf was trying to advance. You see, if he says that since October we have not enjoyed it, and there's been general anger in the system, and the government is now coming to further increase the price, that should have made the NSC strike to be successful. Because people would have said, okay, we're angry with government for we are not had, and yet you are still, but it was not successful.
There are many issues.
So that's why we should look at it. Why? Because
there are many issues why strikes are successful.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm about to
let me also say this.
When you want to explain, you have to put the 2012
let me finish my thought. Yes, let me finish my
thought.
Some of those factors are not present now.
Yes, we'll talk about the factors.
And I will say this.
We have quickly talked about
the man that is at the aim of affairs today was not the same man that was in charge in 2012.
We're talking about the difference between the 2012
and now. Probably Nigerians maybe seem to trust one president more than the other.
I was going there.
Don't forget the Buhari thing.
It's a factor, yes.
Many people may have been somehow criticizing Buhari now, but you will still see that millions of Nigerians still believe that.
Many people believe that. No, not magic wand.
President Muhammad.
Many people believe that he didn't create the problem.
This man will not suffer us just for the sake of.
I have a point there. What's the second factor?
No, second factor I want to look at. Maybe taking it from what he has said is that
before you go into the second factor, can I quickly take
please,
okay?
Please.
He's calling from Imo State. Good evening, okay.
Yeah, I'm calling from Owerri.
Yes, nice having you around. Okay, your contribution, please.
Situation reporting.
All right, I appreciate you guys for your good work.
Okay. How's the compliance over there? Okay, the compliance talking about
the banks complied to the strike. All the banks are shut down. Some offices are shut down while others are working. Some schools shut down while some are working. And my contribution is that for the fact that all the offices and all that are not compliant doesn't mean that the impression has not been created. My gladness is that the impression has been created. If not for the fact that, like Gideon said, if not for this last minute withdrawal of TUC, I believe this would have been a very strong achievement. Yes. Despite the fact that Joe Ajaro's faction, which I consider a saboteur faction, actually pulled out.
What did you consider as well?
What did you call Ajero?
What faction?
Yeah. Joe Ajaro's faction is a saboteur faction because they did that on their personal interest. I can tell you that. I know Joe Ajero is an evil man, and I know what they do when it comes to money. So he has been impressed and he has been fused up with some money. That's why he sabotaged his fellow labor leader in pursuit of the interest of the public at the very last minute. You can't tell me that the federal government wouldn't have put all these policies on ground first. They're supposed to have gotten the time that they're working, supposed to have gotten some issues on ground well fixed before coming to go there. And when a good government would have put some positive structures on ground first. You don't know the importance of the removal of the first subsidy. It's very important.
All right, and thank you so much. Okay, that's all I can take from you. Thank you for calling us.
So
the second factor.
Yes. Second factor is that the goodwill that the government brought in, when they came. When it took
the
over
Buhari
government. Because you see now, let me tell you, because we engage with everyday people. The argument you have now is that, as Jide said, you see this anti-corruption war that is going on is actually helping government to show up its support base. People are saying now, if this government can look in the face of these people who were before now very powerful, the untouchable, and government is seen to be recovering money, which means if you give this government a little while, they are likely to do something. So we are saying Labour should sit down because Labour, again, is not fighting for everybody. Each time we want to talk about increase in the salary. How many people are earning the salary? You have the market people who the state doesn't affect them. You have the bricklayers and the rest of them who don't benefit anything. So in most cases right now, people are saying, yes, if this government can be fighting this corruption, then let's support them. That's that. But it's risky. Why I say it's risky is that if this government has been able to decimate the labor movement, which is not good for our economy. It's not good for the polity. Because right now we don't even have any virile opposition that can stand and tell the government, no, you can't go that route.
Is it the fault of the federal government?
That we don't have what?
The credible opposition.
But we're supposed to have a credible opposition in Labour that have just been decimated.
Even the PDP as a
it is not good for us. Because you know what I'm saying? Right now, with what we have got now, government can just wake up tomorrow, bring any policy and ride roughshod over everybody.
Which is dangerous.
Which is dangerous.
Wonderful. Jide, factors, we're talking about factors that made the 2012 protest different from now.
I spoke about the ability to mobilize. I don't think the current crop of
leadership,
labor leaders have that ability. I don't think they have the clout. I don't think they have sufficient support of the civil society. We've never had any strike that the civil society didn't actively participate. You see maybe a Femi Falana coming out to address people. You see a Ganifa Weme, you know? Yes. How many or so people have you seen now? The reality is a lot of the people who were the big time mobilizers back then, who played an active role in 2012. They are on the other side.
They're part of the government.
They have sympathy. They have sympathy for the new government. So do you expect them? Either they are even card-carrying members of APC,
or they
have sympathy, or they have they are beneficiaries,
or they are patronage.
All of them. They will say or vote. Or lawyers will say or vote. Or all. You know, so in such a situation, what do you expect to happen?
It's a sad one.
I gave the example because I like for people to understand what is going on. You look at NURTW, where people talk about Ajaero. Ajaero is nothing. If NURTW alone decides that, okay, this strike we want to fully comply with
they will ground
Lagos. Okay. They will ground Lagos. All those people you are seeing outside, how many Nigerians, how many Lagosians have cars? All those people you are seeing on the streets, they won't be able to get out of their homes. So, but the reality is, a lot of those leaders, a lot of the leaders of
have crossed over.
They are on the other side. They are supporting the ruling party.
So
do you expect them to wage a war against their own themselves?
I have Harry on the line. Good evening, Harry. Calling from Lagos.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I thought you could have checked out what is the volume of PMS consumed in the last 1 week and the volume of PMS consumed now. Most of the is one who called himself as a skilled journalist. Should have now what is it? Because he seems to be excited about the whole thing. And moreover, say that people are keeping quiet doesn't mean join the union. Doesn't mean that people are happy about it. Okay, everybody is complaining. One of your reports this afternoon, the cost of tomato has gone up because of the price of PMS.
Yes.
The woman was saying I used to buy something at 3,000, still 18,000. What is the cost of that? So people should not think that people are kept quiet. Doesn't mean because we know nobody wants to die. I want to be alive to wait to 2019.
Okay.
Because definitely somebody has to account for what is happening in the next election. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Harry.
Which is
not
so good.
Gentlemen, I'll come back to you.
Keep it quiet.
Because we need to sign out out of TVC Entertainment. We'll definitely be on TVC Nigeria. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're still on the nationwide nationwide strike or protest. Oh yes, a nationwide
by
protest.
The mainstream.
By the mainstream, not the faction. Okay, according to Jide.
Okay, the faction.
Yes. In fact, there's only one NLC.
Only one NLC. Yeah. Jide, let me ask a question because I've been getting the pulse of the people on the street, and why most of the people don't want to be part, because I spoke to someone today, don't want to be part of this, is because when we're talking about that 2012 protest, really, people will say, people like Peter Esele, they entered the room and came out and said, people in Ojota, you have to go, me and Moke from Abuja here, will go somewhere else. Today is going to be the governor. Where does he have such money? And they are saying, even some are saying yesterday, money have exchanged hands. And that's why the union is keeping quiet. Is money exchange? Later on, they will just say, guys, go, we are okay. They make money. Nowadays, you see union members or union leaders.
They don't even retire.
And they don't retire. They
are unionists for life.
Later, you see them with brand new vehicles. Solidarity forever. Is it solidarity for everybody or for themselves?
It is. There is a huge deficit of trust.
Wow.
Let's tell ourselves the truth. A huge deficit of trust. And Nigerians are beginning to ask themselves, what is really happening? You see, labor leaders always find a way to hobnob with the people in government.
Find a way.
When Oshomole was NLC chairman, NLC president, he was also the chairman of the National Social Insurance Trust Fund. He was Obasanjo's friend. In fact, when the PDP had their presidential convention, Oshomole was sitting in the stands.
Yes.
Do you remember that picture?
I remember very well.
Yes. Oshomole was sitting in the stands. He was Obasanjo's friend.
When he became governor, he invited Obasanjo in a manner that even angered some of the people.
You know, so they always find a way to. That is why now people see these things and ask themselves, do these people really deserve our trust? That's why I said there's a huge deficit of trust. Okay. So you cannot tell a people who have grown suspicious of labor to every time labor calls them out to just run out and start.
I want to add to that. Anytime the labor goes on strike or threatens to go on strike, what are the issues about? There have been several germane issues that touch the life of average Nigerians. And
they've never talked.
They won't talk. This PIB thing, when they were talking about it, did you hear a word from labor?
No.
Or
when our refineries were not talking, were not working rather, did your NLC say anything?
No. They should even have shut down the country.
They should have.
You will have solved this problem by now.
Of government. Now they will write trash and be, distributing it to media houses. And look at them. Do you call us fools?
And some of them are even journalists like us.
Because of your greed. How many of these labor leaders do you know? They are living big,
living large,
rich.
Their lives change.
And they will tell you they are fighting for the average masses. So believe me, it is not true.
But let me add this one.
There is victory for us. Is it for us or them?
When there was no political will, when there was no political will to do this sovereign wealth fund, why didn't you push the government to do the right thing?
Let it even be on record that you fought for it.
Now, what I wanted to say,
things that can help the average.
See, the thing is that let me also tell you why the powers of labor over the years waned considerably. You see, when you are representing the people, you're most going to fight for the cause of the people. And the people must not see you living bigger than they expected.
It's not right.
Which is what we are saying. But if you go to my state now, if you go to my state now, where SLA is going everywhere. If you see the number of cars that are on his train.
But Charles,
hold on.
Exemption there, you know why? Yes. Because people like Tunji Braithwaite were made before they even joined.
Exactly. Exactly. Self-made.
So they could be better than some.
We are talking about contemporary times.
Contemporary times are in labor. How many of such are in labor? You see, what makes labor to be more well respected everywhere, either in Britain or in Switzerland,
it's not by the
way before. But you see, labor. Okay, I ask you a question. Since the days of Pascal Bafia, have you ever seen labor looking at the economy and presenting except from his days? That's what I knew.
He's one of the worst.
No, that's what I knew. That's what I knew labor.
I hate that.
No, that's what I knew labor. That's what I knew labor. That's what I knew labor. So let me end this. What I'm saying, so have you ever seen labor presenting any policy to government as a way of can you do this for the economy? Nothing. They are always reacting.
Well
Instead of to be
position.
exactly. Yes. You will say, okay, government, this economy, something's happening in the economy. This is our position. Or even look at the National Assembly. Then they can sponsor a bill.
But they don't do that. Oversight function over the people doing oversight function. Can we quickly go to Delta and get the pulse of the people complaining about this labor leadership also?
Look at all the labor leaders. They've used workers to get to the top. They live in choice places in Abuja. They live in choice places in everywhere. Go and look at what they are. They use labor. They use workers. They use workers to the top.
Yes, NSC no day. When Ambassador Robbie's pension to today, no future for me and you. NSC fight for
listen, Osomole and Edo use workers to climb to become governor. The former TUC chairman, Peter Esele, is also contested as governor in Edo State. Look at the fleet of cars he's using for his campaign. Where did he make the money? As a civil servant or the labor, where did he make the money? Is this civil servant you want to use to get to the top? For God forbid. That's my position.
Gentlemen. Okay.
I was saying that if labor must regain their respect back, what they should be doing, let them articulate and enunciate policies that can help the economy.
There are bright people in
okay, so let them sponsor bills that will help the economy. But each time, right now in Nigeria, if you mention labor, what comes to mind is wage increase, which is not supposed to be. Wage increase is not all about labor. Labor has other functions.
Let's be fair to these people.
In Nigeria,
when Oshomole was fighting Obasanjo over petroleum, was it wage increase?
But now,
was it wage increase? We've had strikes over increment in, increase in fuel prices. It has not always been about wage increase now.
But of recent,
let's cut them some slack now.
Of recent, look.
The other day, the other day, Waba went to Imo State when the governor was going to sack staff.
Yes.
And they told him, look, you cannot sack this staff. That is how labor functions. Their business is to defend members of their constituency.
Which is what I said earlier.
Okay. You see, all civil society groups should be the ones doing the job that labor is doing now.
But is that
labor is not supposed to rally the whole country because of increase
labor is for its members.
It's for its members. So let's at least give them a little.
Let's talk about these.
Let's not demonize them.
No work, no pay. And even the Minister of Labour saying the partakers of this strike are liable to 100,000 naira or 6 months in jail. What do you think?
The minister is just ranting.
Let him go and jail.
I'm sorry about that.
Let him go and jail them.
Yes, they went to court, you got an injunction and all that,
yes.
But you are not a judge. How would you say you're liable to?
Maybe it's echoing what the law
How many people?
If you echo the law, you cannot enforce it.
They will go to state to jail people.
They will need to look for enough.
Until it becomes a judgment, and it is difficult to enforce. The minister shouldn't complicate this issue. This is a bitter pill that you want Nigerians to swallow.
He even says
persuade them. Let them see reason why they should do it instead of dishing out insults that you go to. It's insulting.
The industrial court is meeting on the 24th again. So they are meeting on the 24th again to, they gave an injunction for them not to go on strike until on the 24th when they determine the case brought against them. No, what I'm even saying that even what he was saying, Labour has a legitimate right to protest.
Yes. Is that right?
It's a right. It's enshrined in the Constitution. So you can't jail anybody.
But I hate a situation whereby you are forcing me to go on strike. You can give a directive. We are in a democracy. I may choose to.
But you're bound to follow it.
That is one that
is where I'm going to.
That is I disagree totally.
Wait, let me
when you give me directive,
we'll go to that.
In a democracy, I may say yes.
But let me ask you the same question before I go to that one. Adekule, good evening. You're calling from Lagos. And not you, Adekule Yusuf. Good evening. Adekule, we're waiting for you. Good evening. I think you have to turn down your volume of your TV set next time. Okay, let me ask that same question I asked this gentleman. Does the Minister of Labour have the right to say such?
He has the right to
say
anything that under the sun.
Under the law.
Whether it makes sense or not.
But
you know it's his right.
Yes.
To say whatever he likes.
And
it's our own right to determine whether he has made sense.
Or not.
It's our right.
In this instance.
And we are saying that in this instance, we are looking for a solution to this problem. From the beginning, I said I don't want this strike. That government must do everything possible to prevent this strike. But I cannot tolerate a situation whereby, because people have chosen to go on strike, you are issuing threats, when we know that some of us today are beneficiaries of the same NLC strike. When they reduce the fuel pump price, we all benefited from it.
Yes.
You are now making it look like anybody who goes on strike has committed treason against his country. Look, dissent does not mean disloyalty. So we must be mindful of the way we handle a situation like this. This same minister issued a press statement last night that, look, he has been mandated to call Labour back to the negotiating table. Because let us face it, this is the group that they need to talk to. Forget about the short man, Ajero. This is the group they must negotiate with. Because it's the mainstream NLC. Wonderful. And it is even an embarrassment. They must stop that embarrassment.
Immediately.
You know? So he's saying that he's been mandated to meet with them, get them back to the negotiation table. But if you are using fighting language against them, truculent language, there's no way you can get them back. They will not even trust that you mean well.
Adamu, good evening. You're calling from Benue.
Good evening, Dapo. How is the work?
Wonderful. Thank you.
It comes from the state where they've not paid for 5 months.
Thank you so much for the work all the time. You know, this is bringing us close to government and see what is happening. It's nice. Babajide Aiki.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, you know,
your governor is supposed to pay for 5 months, eh?
Yes.
In Benue. Allah Isa.
Allah Isa, guys.
So what's the situation? Are the people observing the strike?
Yeah, it's totally zero. No compliance at all. So imagine people are all for more than 5 months. How do you expect them to go out and strike? It's not possible. And what Labour should not end up for?
Yes.
We are fantastically informed to be misinformed.
Fantastically
informed to be misinformed.
Are not corrupt.
These guys, they can't go about getting what they want to get at the time they want, and if they want to get money, they will raise this debt. Total deregulation, people are in support of it, no two ways about it. The only thing they should do now for them to get little respect for us is they should compile states that are owing salary to pay. That is one. And then they should compel them to increase the wage.
Okay.
Since they remove the distance completely, what are they going to do with the money? At least 1.something trillion will not be there. Again for some.
Can use some of it
so
for salary
how to compensate workers, a kind of palliative measure.
Wonderful.
So that is what we are expecting from them. No, this and it will not work.
All right, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adamu. As we round up on this, you talked about something, some few seconds for you gentlemen. You talked about Labour should not compel, should not force. Is it in the instance of maybe blocking the road for air travelers because people were complaining yesterday, why I shouldn't be part of this? Why are they forcing me to be part of this? Is that what you're talking about?
That is, on that point, I'm totally against Labour.
You think so?
Give directive, if you are popular, people will listen to
if I want to.
But when you have to force them,
people will queue up behind you.
The Labour doesn't want the government to descend on them.
Okay. Is it by force, Charles?
Well, it's not by force, but that's not my worry. My worry is that the Labour's weakness right now is not going to help us. I would want Labour to close ranks, let them come together, form a formidable force to be able to in the interest of our country.
Wonderful.
That's my worry.
I agree absolutely with him.
Charles, yes. Okay.
I'm a beneficiary of Labour strikes in the
honestly.
past. And a disunited Labour.
Not help the country.
A Labour from which the gyros of this world will continue to emerge and decimate the group is not beneficial to anybody.
They should sit up and sit down.
They must come together.
Thank you. I'm moving on. More than 2 years ago, Boko Haram terrorists struck a Chibok community and abducted more than 200 schoolgirls from the dormitory. The group left its signature of sorrow behind as it set the school ablaze. And since then, the parents and the world had been hoping that one day they will be rescued. On Tuesday, one of the girls was found. She is Amina Ali. Amina was abducted as a teenage girl but was found as a mother with a 4-month-old baby. And husband, I don't want to put husband there, in quotes, her husband in quotes, alleged husband. Yes, a few hours ago, Amina was with President Buhari at the Aso Rock Villa. And Amina must have gone through difficult times in the Sambisa forest and endured a series of sexual assault. Despite having terrible stories to tell, Amina shared her good news. She said the remaining girls are alive. And how soon can we find them? Adekule, good news, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is because many people believed or still believe that there was no abduction. Many people believe or still believe that they must have killed all of them, or all of them must have died, or things like that.
Or sold into slavery.
But some of the former, Sambisa people have, interacted with, they shared this kind of things. And when the latest, news is that these victims are still alive, what it means for Nigeria is that we should intensify efforts. Those still alive among these victims of Boko Haram should be rescued.
Whether rescued or they surrendered or she wandered to
or found,
or anyhow they should. But this instance, we're getting conflicting reports. Was she rescued? The army will come out with a different name. The JTF came out with a different name and different stories entirely. But at least we know she was found. So what do you think? What do you think?
I don't want to delve into whether, the nomenclature, whether found or rescued. It doesn't matter. That's not a material for me to consider right now as I speak. My joy is that she has been found, which is a plus for this government, plus for the fight against insurgency, plus for all of us. Then also plus for the image of this government, because when the president came in, he said he was going to do decisively with insurgency, and then with this girl being found also has also lent credence to the fact that they were indeed adopted. A lot of people have been going about, even the state government, a governor saying that no adoption ever took place. But what what I'm going to say right now is this, that whether they were adopted or not, it doesn't matter. Whether she were found by the JTF,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter, but somebody has been found, which will now, it will help to boost this the resolve of the government to go further to see how these other ones that are many.
You see, there's something. Thank you, yes. Charles. There's something people have not been talking about, and it's that man Mohammed Hayatu. And the story, when I was reading again, said Hayatu was or is still part of the Boko Haram fighters.
Okay.
And because of ill health and even lack of food, that is why he had to give up, taking his bride, bride with him and the baby. Jide, what do you think about that?
When this kind of thing happens, the truth is always the greatest casualty. This girl was rescued by civilian JTF. They took her, civilian JTF took her to Chibok.
Okay, first of all.
The limit of
the parents
that the girl was received by President Buhari, and that's what we are seeing on the screen right now.
Where the parents identified her, then after she was identified, the civilian JTF said, we have to take you back to the military because we are working under authority. And she was taken back to the military. The military now took her to the governor of Borno State. So it is clear it was civilian JTF that effected rescue. But the reality is, she and her opportunistic husband must have escaped from deep inside the Sambisa forest, because lately many Boko Haram members have been escaping, and they know that the game is up. It's a matter of time.
The heat is on them.
It's a matter of time before they are terribly dealt with, and they are giving up, laying down their arms. So they must have resolved between the two of them that, look, let us leave that place. So they must have escaped from that place to come to Dambua. You know, she wasn't rescued in the heart of Sambisa forest. You know, she was rescued. They said they manned checkpoints.
Yes.
You know, it was around that place that she was found. We are happy. Even the Bring Back Our Guests, the activists confirmed that she was rescued by civilian JTF and then handed over to the military after the family had identified her and confirmed that this is our daughter. Okay. So that is what happened.
Okay, I want to sound like a military intelligence person now, because I was wondering when that girl was found. I think we should have kept that secret now and trail where she came from. That means Sambisa is not somewhere we cannot penetrate then. If she and the baby had come from that bush, why can't we go the same way they came?
Let me be honest with you. Sambisa is a very, very vast, huge forest.
But she came from there?
Yes. She doesn't have to be everywhere in the forest.
It stretches across 7 states.
Yes. And even beyond Nigeria.
Cameroon. And
part of Cameroon.
You understand me? So it's a very big place. The problem here is Nigeria shouldn't just leave this war against Boko Haram as a military war. It's all of us war. The way as we strengthen the military, maybe what this is telling us is that we should strengthen the non-military, arm of this struggle.
But I heard the JTF will be incorporated into the Nigerian military. I heard that of recent. I'm not too sure about it.
Because the Nigerian military will not want you to take the shine of their, struggle. But the government can find a way around it. It is the problem of all of us. If, as the military is working hard, anyone that can contribute, we should strengthen them.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you very much. That means with this, that means there's a silver lining in that cloud. Exactly. That means we can see these girls. We can penetrate that jungle.
But what I want to look at is, for instance, this matter has been, it's now in custody of the authorities, the Mohammed Ayatu.
Yeah.
I'm sure he must volunteer some very useful information which could be useful to the military. Then the girl, I also heard girls saying that the is impenetrable. Yes. But if it's impenetrable, as you said, they have been able to penetrate. But again, the girl herself...
They ran away.
Okay. Then the girl herself had been with them. She also said that apart from 6 that had died, according to her, she have a lot of them still within this observatory, which means they will not be taken outside the country if her information is supposed to be reliable. So we can make use of this, for me, as very useful tools for the military to move in and make use of high tech. I mean, okay, no, I said to move further. Let me add that further. So then they can also begin to use this high tech technology. This of drone and the rest of them to know exactly where they are.
Is it the thermal?
Whatever, but let me add this one to it. But I feel that this girl, having spent about over 2 years in that place, the girl must have been indoctrinated. So again, I also want that this girl to be shielded from the public.
Okay.
Because after she has been rehabilitated, she's going to also be absorbed into the society. If people begin to see her as a Boko Haram wife, it will not help her.
And the baby as a Boko Haram.
So remember the story I told you about one 17-year-old girl.
It's up to the government to rehabilitate her.
Also shielded.
What is right.
Although be shielded from the public.
A message for people like Fayoshi. What do you have to say?
I don't want to talk about Fayoshi. Let's talk about Nigeria.
Why is it people don't want to?
Why not?
You
believe your position against
you want to dignify Fayoshi because of this kind of...
We have gone past the stage.
Somebody who fires for cylinders.
Let's face the...
Okay, Hope.
We have gone past the stage of according relevance to someone who says the abduction didn't take place. We have gone past that stage. If that person had a daughter, would he be saying that? So let's leave that.
Let's leave that.
The governor of Katsina State said that the girl has spoken and has offered information that could be used to trace others. When you talk like this, terrorists are not. They will relocate these people. I don't even believe that they are all in the same place. They must have scattered them. People have learned their lessons. They must have scattered them. And then these guys, they read our newspapers.
Yes.
They get valuable information which enables them to relocate. We've been trying to locate the where these guys are. We've not succeeded. And they would be aware now that one of their guests straight into
the hands of
the
authorities.
So should have kept it secret.
You don't even say everything
that's
out. We know that this guy, you shouldn't even give the impression that the guy has volunteered any form of information.
Getting a rescue is a big news.
We should just leave it out.
We should not be reckless
saying that she has given information. Of course, they will relocate them.
It will compromise
we
whatever the government is doing.
We still have about 218
or they should have consulted the military before
that if the seats are actually dead, then there's about
gentlemen, how time flies. Adekunle Yusuf, thank you very much. Charles Idon, thank you so much. Babajide Kolade Otutoju, thank you so much also. And that's all on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program and watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Dakbo Aruwaje. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.